Hello, dear friend. Come sit for a while with me. Let's imagine we're on your porch, the kind with an old wooden chair, maybe a cushion you sewed yourself years ago, and a little chipped teacup resting beside you. The sun is just beginning to stretch its golden fingers across the leaves, and there's a hush in the garden. Birds beginning their morning conversation. A breeze that carries memory in its softness. In this quiet moment, let's think about something small. A plastic bottle. Not very glamorous, is it? It's the kind of thing most folks toss without a second thought into the bin, into the past. But what if that bottle had another life waiting? A second chance, not just to exist, but to bloom. That's what we'll explore today, you and I, not just bottles, but possibility. Not waste, but wonder. Because you don't need money to grow something beautiful. You don't need youth or speed. All you need is a little care, a dash of imagination, and a heart willing to see what others overlook. In this visit, I'll walk with you through garden ideas that use what you already have: old bottles, lids, crates, colors. Things others might call trash, but that you'll turn into treasure. Each one is gentle on the hands, kind to your budget, and full of charm. And like us, they may be a little worn, but still filled with purpose. So take a breath, sip your tea if you have one nearby, and let's begin. Together we'll see just how much beauty still waits to be made with simple things, quiet hands, and a little golden light. Remember those coat racks we used to hang by the back door? Just a few pegs on a piece of wood, but somehow it held everything: scarves, hats, memories. This next idea works just like that, but instead of coats, it holds life. Green, growing, joyful life. Start with a wooden panel. Perhaps an old fence board, a salvaged door, or a thrifted pallet. Something sturdy enough to lean against a sunny wall or hang from a hook. Then gather a few clear plastic bottles. Soda bottles work best. Cut a wide window on one side of each, keeping the neck and base intact. This turns each bottle into a cozy little cradle for soil and seed. Now fasten the bottles onto the wood with wire or strong staples open side, facing up. You can arrange them in rows like little pockets or stagger them like bricks for a charming patchwork feel. Fill each with soil, then tuck in herbs, lettuce, or small flowers. Anything light and friendly to grow. The beauty of this wall garden is how it rises just like hope. It doesn't ask you to bend, kneel, or lift heavy things. It makes gardening accessible, especially for aging backs or tender joints. Everything is right there at eye level. Easy to water, easy to admire. The clear bottles let the light in, and over time you'll see roots reaching down like tiny stories unfolding. You'll know when it's time to water. You'll watch green burst from what was once just a throwaway. And when you hang your trowel beside that wall, maybe on an old hook or nail, you'll realize something deeper: that growth doesn't have to spread outward. Sometimes it climbs, quietly, gracefully, bottle by bottle, day by day. A vertical garden like this doesn't cost much, but it gives so much back. Color, fresh herbs, purpose, and a sense that even a wall, even a leftover bottle, even we can still hold something beautiful. Do you remember those firefly nights? Back when the yard glowed not from electric bulbs, but from tiny sparks dancing above the grass. There was something so magical about that soft light. Quiet, golden, unexpected. Today, we can bring a bit of that magic back. And all it takes is a few plastic bottles and a little imagination. Start by gathering clear or lightly tinted bottles, water bottles, juice bottles, even those with interesting curves. Cut off the bottoms about 2 inches up and set them aside for another project if you'd like. Then use the top halves for this one. With a bit of acrylic paint, soft blues, warm ambers, even gentle purples, give each bottle its own glow by painting the inside. You don't need to be perfect. In fact, uneven brush strokes make the light dance even more beautifully. Next, slip a small solar-powered tea light or LED light inside each bottle. These can be found affordably at dollar stores or thrift shops. If you're feeling handy, thread a bit of wire around the bottleneck and create a hook. Then simply hang them from small garden stakes, a low fence, or even tree branches. As the sun dips low and the lights begin to flicker on, the bottles glow with a gentle radiance. They light up a path not too bright, just enough to feel safe and seen. They also create an ambiance that feels like dusk at a summer fair or a warm memory from childhood. For those with limited mobility, this setup is a blessing. No bending to light candles, No dangerous wires, just soft light where you need it in places that invite you to linger a little longer. And maybe that's the real gift. These lights don't just show you where to walk, they ask you to slow down. To notice the petals catching their glow. To breathe deeply. To feel, if only for a moment, that everything around you and within you is quietly shining, just like those fireflies once did. Do you remember stringing laundry out on the line, those simple clothespins clicking in the breeze and the gentle sway of shirts and sheets catching the light? There was something peaceful about it. Something tidy, useful, and beautiful all at once. That same feeling can be brought into your garden with a hanging herb rail made entirely from recycled bottles. Start by selecting a sturdy railing. It might be the edge of your balcony, a wooden garden trellis, or even a stretch of strong wire strung between two posts. Then gather your plastic bottles, water bottles, soda bottles, or anything you might usually toss aside. Wash them thoroughly, then cut a horizontal window along the side large enough to scoop in soil and herbs. Keep the bottle cap intact to hold moisture, and if you'd like, poke a small hole for gentle drainage. Once your planters are ready, thread twine or garden wire around the necks and tie them securely to your railings, spacing them just far enough apart so each plant has room to breathe. Fill with a bit of potting mix and tuck in your favorite herbs: basil, parsley, mint, thyme. Choose the ones you like to snip for soup or sprinkle into tea. What's lovely about this rail garden is how it turns eye-level space into nourishment. No stooping, no digging, no heavy pots to lift. Just a row of soft green sprigs swaying slightly in the breeze. And when you reach for a bit of rosemary, it's almost like picking memory itself. The bottles catch the sunlight during the day and shimmer with droplets, after watering, making your railing feel more alive, more cared for. And on warm evenings, you can pluck a bit of mint for your iced tea, or crush some thyme between your fingers just for the scent. It turns everyday actions into rituals. For seniors with smaller spaces or limited mobility, this is more than a garden, it's a way to reconnect. With flavor, with scent, with the slow satisfaction of growing something right within reach. It proves that usefulness doesn't have to be grand and that beauty can still be practical. Like an old laundry line turned into a string of little green miracles. Do you remember the feeling of warming your hands over a sunlit window on a chilly morning? That simple, gentle heat, not fierce, but comforting. There's something about sunlight captured in stillness that brings things to life. That's exactly what this next idea does, turning old plastic bottles into greenhouse walls that cradle plants in warmth and care. This project begins with a wooden frame, perhaps a thrifted window frame, a few pallet boards, or something your hands or family can help piece together. It doesn't have to be large, just strong enough to stand upright and hold a row of plastic bottles side by side. Clear plastic soda bottles work best. You'll want to wash and remove their labels, then cut off the bottoms and tops so that they form open-ended tubes. Stack these tubes vertically inside the frame, fitting one into the next until they create long columns of transparent walls. Secure them gently with garden wire or nails across the frame's sides. What you've made is a patchwork panel, a light-catching, heat-holding wall that shelters what grows behind it. Lean the frame against a wall or build a second panel to make a corner and place your delicate seedlings, herbs, or shade-loving flowers behind it. The bottle wall lets in filtered sunlight while softening wind and holding in warmth. It's perfect for extending your growing season in early spring or late fall, especially for those of us who prefer gardening in cooler months when the sun is kind and the world is quieter. And here's something thoughtful, because the bottles are light and the frame isn't permanent. This greenhouse can be moved or adjusted without heavy lifting, a gentle solution for tired hands or achy backs. You can even anchor it with a few bricks if needed, or prop it near your back porch where you step out with morning coffee. It's a wonderful way to protect tender greens and see-through beauty, not just for the plants, but for you. Because watching something grow behind that translucent wall feels like keeping a little secret with nature, like whispering encouragement through light and time. And what once seemed like trash, those bottles now stand as protectors. They may be patched together imperfect, but they hold warmth just the same, much like us. Remember those mornings when you'd set a pot to simmer low and slow, letting it bubble gently while you tended to other things. No rush, no fuss, just quiet, steady care. That same kind of tender attention can be brought to your garden through a simple recycled solution, plastic bottle drip irrigation for raised beds. If you have a raised garden, even a small one made from old boards or crates, you know how important it is to keep the soil just right. Not too dry, not too wet. And if bending carrying watering cans or remembering daily chores feels like too much some days, then this idea is a gift. Begin by taking a few plastic bottles. Water or soda varieties work well. Rinse them clean and pierce a few tiny holes in the cap using a pin or small nail. Just 2 or 3 will do. Then fill the bottle with water and gently press it neck down into the soil near the base of your plants. You can use a stick or stake to help hold it upright if needed. As the soil dries, it pulls the water through those tiny holes, slowly delivering moisture right where the roots need it. No runoff, no waste. Just slow, steady nourishment like that simmering pot on the stove. What's beautiful about this method is how it makes gardening simpler. For aging hands, for tired knees, for forgetful mornings, these little drip bottles do the work for you. You can even decorate them if you'd like, paint them soft pastels or tie a bit of ribbon so they blend into the bed with grace. And here's something lovely. The bottles themselves, once destined for the bin, now serve your growing things with purpose. They don't shout or sparkle. They just quietly give drop by drop, day by day, like a letter left on the counter or a friend who checks in. You don't need fancy irrigation. You don't need energy you don't have. Just a bottle, a few holes, and the quiet patience of time. Let the garden drink slowly. Let your heart feel a little lighter. And remember, dear friend, steady care, not speed, is what brings the garden to life. Do you remember lining up buttons in a row as a child? Sorting them by color, by size, not for any purpose, other than the joy of arranging something beautiful in order. This next idea has that same spirit, a way to turn simple repetition into something meaningful. We're talking about creating flower border planters using old plastic bottles. This project is perfect for outlining garden paths, patio edges, or raised beds, especially if you want to add charm without bending, digging deep, or spending a dime. Start by collecting a group of plastic bottles, water, soda, or even colorful cleaning product bottles. Rinse them well, and if you're feeling playful, paint them in cheerful colors. Think robin's egg blue, sunny yellow, soft lavender, or keep them clear for a more natural look. Next, slice off the tops just a few inches down. What you'll have is a series of small, upright containers like tiny flower pots. Fill them halfway with soil, then plant hardy, low-growing blooms, such as marigolds, petunias, or even trailing nasturtiums that spill over the edges with time. Once planted, nestle them along your garden path like a parade of tiny flower soldiers standing proudly in line. The effect is both structured and whimsical. From above, you'll see dots of color along the walkway, and from the side, a cheerful wall of blossoms and leaves. It defines the garden space without fencing it in. For older gardeners, it's a wonderful way to work close to the surface without needing to kneel. Each bottle planter can be prepared on a table and set down with ease. But beyond the function is the feeling. Every bottle once empty and discarded now holds life. It's a reminder that beauty doesn't have to be bought. That borders don't have to be barriers, they can be invitations. To walk, to pause, to notice. And when the light catches the edges of the bottles, especially after rain or watering, it sparkles a little like morning dew on glass. Like something quiet, saying, I'm still here, and I still have something to give. So line your garden path with stories. Let each flower bloom from something saved. And let yourself, dear friend, walk through it all, knowing that nothing, not even an old bottle, is ever truly useless. Have you ever sat near a lace curtain fluttering in the window, filtering the light, just so it didn't block the sun completely? It didn't shut the world out. It just softened everything light wind even thought. That's the spirit behind this next idea. A bottle lantern curtain that gives your garden privacy color and a quiet kind of beauty. Start with a simple support. Maybe a wooden beam across your patio edge, an old curtain rod, or a wire strung between 2 posts. Then collect a handful of plastic bottles, clear or colored, tall or short, whatever you have on hand. After washing and removing labels, cut each one into rings or vertical strips depending on your preference. If you're feeling inspired, paint them in shades that match the season's soft pinks and greens for spring golds and rusts for autumn. Thread the bottle pieces together using fishing line garden twine or thin wire. Each strand becomes a shimmering chain of light and color. Make as many strands as you like, and hang them vertically side by side until you've created a gentle screen. As the wind moves, so do the bottles, clinking softly like chimes, swaying like leaves. This curtain doesn't block your view or cast heavy shadows. It's breathable. Light still pours through and the breeze still dances by. But it gives your garden a sense of being its own little room, a place set apart where your chair and cup of tea feel protected like a corner of your heart. For seniors with small patios or balconies, this is a wonderful way to create visual boundaries without hammering or lifting. It brings privacy without heaviness. It turns recycled bottles into stained glass, moving gently in the wind, catching sunlight in little flickers. And in the evenings, you can add small string lights behind the curtain. The bottles glow like lanterns, then each one holding a bit of warmth, a bit of memory. You see, privacy isn't always about hiding. Sometimes it's about honoring space, a place to read, to rest, to be. This curtain doesn't shout, it whispers. You belong here. And with every flicker of light and sway of color, it reminds you that home, even the smallest corner of it, can be both beautiful and kind. Do you remember flipping over stones as a child, just to see what might be living underneath tiny beetles' pill bugs, maybe an earthworm slowly curling away from the sun? There was a kind of wonder in that, a quiet curiosity about the small lives sharing our world. That same sense of connection can come alive again in your garden through a charming and purposeful creation, a recycled bottle bug hotel. This little tower isn't just decoration, it's a haven for beneficial insects like ladybugs, solitary bees, and lacewings who help pollinate your flowers and keep pests in check. And the best part, it's made almost entirely from things you already have. Begin by collecting a handful of plastic bottles, all the same size if possible. Cut off the tops and bottoms so you're left with open cylinders. Then fill each one with a variety of natural materials, bundles of twigs, rolled up cardboard pine cones bark, or bits of bamboo. Think texture, think shelter. These nooks and crannies give tiny creatures a place to rest, nest, and hide from wind and rain. Once filled, stack the bottles horizontally within a wooden frame or an old crate. You can secure them with string wire or glue depending on what's easiest for your hands. Set the finished tower near your flower bed or beside a leafy pot somewhere quiet but visible so you can enjoy watching your new guests come and go. What makes this idea so special is that it turns your garden into more than just a place for plants. It becomes a shared home. It recognizes that even the smallest lives matter. That nature, when invited in, gently brings balance and beauty with it. For older gardeners, the Bug Hotel is also a delightfully low-effort project. No digging, no lifting, just gathering, assembling, and placing with care. You can even involve grandchildren, let them collect pine cones or paint the outside of the crate. And over time, you'll start to notice little changes. More blossoms, fewer pests. A feeling that your garden is breathing more fully. Because when we care for the smallest creatures, we show the greatest love. And it all starts with a bottle, with a bit of curiosity, and with the understanding that every life, no matter how tiny, deserves a place to rest. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the sound of water gently trickling over stone. Not rushing, not loud, just a soft rhythm like a whispered lullaby from the earth. It's the kind of sound that soothes the nerves and brings peace to the mind. And would you believe, dear friend, that such a feeling can be created with nothing more than a few plastic bottles and a bit of clever care? Let's build a little bottle fountain, a modest yet magical centerpiece for any small patio garden. You'll begin with a simple pump. These are often sold for tabletop fountains and are small enough to fit in a bowl or wide flower pot. From there, collect 3 or 4 clear plastic bottles. Cut openings along the side of each bottle and position them at a tilt, either by securing them in foam supports or gently gluing them in a staggered tier inside a crate, shallow bucket, or plant stand. The idea is to let water flow from the top bottle down into the next like a staircase of clear curved steps, and finally back into the basin where it all begins again. When you turn on the pump, water circulates up and over, flowing down with grace. The bottles, especially if they're painted or lightly frosted, shimmer in the sunlight. You might line the base with smooth pebbles or tuck a small flower pot nearby for balance. The whole piece doesn't take up much space, perhaps just a corner table or a shady garden nook, but its presence is felt in every drop. This fountain isn't just about aesthetics. It's practical too. The moisture in the air helps nearby plants thrive. The sound masks traffic or neighbor noise, offering a sense of privacy and calm. And for older gardeners, the setup requires no digging, no heavy lifting, just a bit of assembly and a moment of awe. What once were throwaway bottles now hold something sacred: movement, light, and sound. They offer pause, presence, and beauty, not in a grand or showy way, but in the way a grandmother hums to herself while shelling peas. That's the kind of peace this brings. So if your garden needs a gentle heartbeat, let it begin with this: a trickle, a ripple. A soft reminder that serenity can be built one bottle, one idea, one tender gesture at a time. Do you remember standing barefoot in the grass as a child, running through the garden hoses' soft mist on a hot summer day? That gentle spray cooled more than just the skin. It brought laughter, a breath of relief, and a moment of stillness. Today, we're turning that memory into something practical and peaceful with a simple misting bottle sprinkler made from a recycled plastic bottle. This idea is perfect for delicate seedlings, leafy greens, or flowers that prefer not to be drenched. It's also ideal for older gardeners who want to water without lugging around heavy hoses or risking slips. Begin with a clean plastic bottle. Any medium size will do. Poke several tiny holes into the sides using a heated needle or a fine nail. Keep them small and evenly spaced around the middle. Then attach a hose adapter to the mouth of the bottle. If you don't have one, a bit of strong tape around a narrow hose end can create a snug fit. When you turn on the water, the bottle becomes a soft sprinkler, not a powerful jet, but a fine mist, much like a summer drizzle. You can place it directly among your plants in raised beds or containers. If needed, nestle it in a clay pot or between bricks to keep it steady. As it sprays, you'll notice how the droplets settle gently on leaves, how they sparkle in the sunlight, and how the air around you becomes cooler, softer. It's a lovely way to water in the morning before the sun climbs too high, or in the early evening when the world begins to quiet again. This kind of misting system is incredibly accessible. It uses little water, costs next to nothing, and can be made in just a few minutes with what you already have. And for those of us who move slower or need to sit while we tend our garden, it's a beautiful solution. Place it, let it run for a few minutes, and watch your garden sigh with gratitude. And maybe you'll sigh too. Because something as small as a bottle repurposed with intention can bring ease. It can turn chores into rituals. It can remind us that gentleness, whether toward our plants or ourselves, is never wasted. So let the mist fall. Let the garden glisten. And let yourself enjoy the soft spray of memory and renewal. Think back, dear friend, to the joy of bringing home a flower picked on a walk, a dandelion, a daisy, a sprig of wild mint. You'd tuck it into a glass, maybe even an old jar by the sink, and suddenly the whole room felt lighter. That's the heart of this next idea, a collection of painted bottle vases that turn humble materials into daily moments of beauty. Start by gathering plastic bottles in various shapes and sizes. Tall water bottles, wide juice containers, or small soda bottles, anything with an interesting curve or silhouette. Wash them thoroughly, remove the labels, and trim them to the height you'd like. Usually cutting off the top third creates a graceful vase shape. You might want to smooth the edges with fine sandpaper or cover them with soft twine. Now comes the fun part: painting. Use soft pastel acrylics, gentle blues, lavender, rose, sage, or go for a creamy white and gold look if you prefer something classic. For a ceramic feel, apply a chalk finish paint. You can even sponge the paint for texture or add subtle patterns using stencils or a steady hand. Once dry, these bottles become elegant little vases. Place a few along a windowsill, garden table, or patio shelf. Drop in a small bouquet from your garden, maybe some freshly cut herbs, a sprig of rosemary, or a single marigold. Even when the garden isn't in bloom, a few dried grasses or seed pods look beautiful in these hand-touched containers. What's wonderful about this project is how forgiving and joyful it is. There's no wrong way to do it. You can make just one or a whole family of vases in different shapes and colors. And because they're lightweight and unbreakable, they're especially friendly for older hands or breezy porches. It's also a beautiful way to change your space with the seasons. Swap out the colors, the flowers, the arrangement, all without spending anything new. Each bottle once tossed aside now stands proud and graceful, holding not just plants, but presents. That's the magic here. Turning throwaways into keepsakes, turning silence into a still life, turning today's walk, that single bloom you just couldn't leave behind, into something you'll see and smile at all week long. Because beauty doesn't need to be grand. Sometimes it just needs to be noticed. Do you remember folding paper boats and watching them float across puddles or streams? There was a wonder to it, watching something small, delicate, and handmade find its way across the water. In the same spirit, we can bring a gentle sense of movement and charm into your garden with floating bottle pond planters. This idea works wonderfully for anyone with a patio pond, water basin, or even a large bird bath. It's light, whimsical, and full of possibility, and it begins quite simply with a few empty plastic bottles. Start by tying together 4 to 6 bottles with strong twine or garden wire. Arrange them into a flat square or oval raft-like shape. You can sandwich them between 2 layers of old bamboo slats, or fasten a small plastic or wooden tray on top to hold a planter. Secure the structure gently. It doesn't need to be fancy, just firm enough to float steadily. Next, place a lightweight pot or shallow bowl filled with soil and a plant that enjoys humidity, like water lettuce, creeping jenny, or small ferns. Or for something decorative, try a cluster of succulents nestled in pebbles. The important part is to keep it light and balanced, so it floats without tipping. Gently set the raft onto your pond. As it finds its rhythm with the breeze, you'll see the planter drift softly, casting reflections across the water like a moving painting. In the evening, you might add a small solar lantern or a floating tea light for a magical glow. For older gardeners, this idea is a joy. It requires no digging, lifting, or bending. You can prepare the raft at a table, then simply place it in the water with a smile. Watching it move throughout the day adds life to your space, not the noisy kind, but the quiet, soothing sort. The kind that reminds you to slow down and watch the light shift. And the beauty of it all, you're using what others might call trash plastic bottles to bring elegance and serenity into your sanctuary. It's recycling, yes, but it's also remembering that movement, light, and calm can all be handmade. Just like those paper boats, this floating planter doesn't try to go far. It simply drifts gracefully right where it's meant to be. Do you remember those quilt walls at community halls or church fairs? Each square stitched with care, each pattern telling a story. There's something deeply comforting about that kind of patchwork. Each piece small, but together it becomes something grand. That's the feeling you'll bring to your garden with this idea, a vertical succulent wall made from painted bottle bottoms. It starts simply with bottles you've likely set aside for recycling. Cut each one about 1/3 from the bottom to create small cup-like planters. Smooth the edges and then paint the outsides with soft, cheerful colors: sage green, terracotta, orange, lavender, sky blue. Pastels work wonderfully, especially when you imagine them sitting against a natural wood backdrop. Once dry, poke a tiny hole in the bottom of each for drainage. Then fill them with a bit of cactus or succulent soil, lightweight and fast draining, and tuck in small plants like hens and chicks, jade, or trailing sedums. These little plants thrive in shallow containers and don't mind a bit of neglect, which makes them perfect companions for both beginners and seasoned gardeners alike. Now for the magic: mount your bottle planters onto a wooden panel fence or trellis. You can screw in small hooks, use garden wire, or staple on strips of fabric to hold them. Arrange them in rose waves or even a color-blocked pattern like a living quilt. The vertical layout keeps your ground space free, which is especially helpful on patios or balconies with limited room. And the result? A wall of soft texture, color, and life. A living mosaic that changes ever so slightly with each season. The bottle cups catch dew in the morning and shimmer under evening light. The succulents bloom and sprawl and surprise you when you least expect it. This is a project that doesn't require heavy lifting, deep digging, or constant maintenance. It invites creativity and ease, 2 things that become more precious with age. You can even plant it sitting down one bottle at a time, like threading memories into a tapestry. What was once destined for the trash becomes something to be admired. A vertical garden that whispers, there's beauty in the small, in the simple, in the stitched together, much like life itself. Have you ever saved something small just because it reminded you of a moment, a button, a coin, a wine cork from a family dinner long ago? These tiny things carry stories, don't they? That's the inspiration behind this next idea. A colorful, joyful bottle cap mosaic wall. A garden art piece built from the smallest bits of the past. Start by collecting bottle caps, plastic or metal, any size, any color. Maybe from sparkling waters you enjoy on hot days or sodas shared with grandkids on the porch. Over time, they gather like memories in a jar. And with a little patience, they can become a masterpiece. You'll need a sturdy backing, an old wooden board, a piece of recycled plastic panel, or even a weathered fence section. Begin arranging your caps on the surface. You can sort them by color and build an abstract pattern, a swirl of sunset tones, a rainbow stripe, or even a simple flower shape. There's no wrong way. What matters is the care you bring to it. Once you're happy with the layout, glue each cap in place using outdoor adhesive. Take your time. Maybe listen to a favorite record or let the birds keep you company. When it's done, seal it with a clear weatherproof coat if it'll live outside, perhaps leaning behind a planter or hanging on a patio wall. For older gardeners, this project is wonderfully gentle. No lifting or planting, just arranging, sorting, and pressing things into place. It's a quiet kind of joy, like piecing together a jigsaw puzzle, only this one catches sunlight and starts conversations. And here's the lovely part, each cap, once forgettable, now holds a place in something greater. It's a reflection of sustainable beauty, the kind that says, look what we can do even with leftovers. This mosaic wall becomes more than decor. It's a reminder that fragments, whether they're bottle caps or moments from long ago, can still come together to make something whole, something radiant. So if your garden needs a little color, a little story, a little fun, start saving your caps. Turn them into a canvas of joy. Let the wall smile back at you. Because even the smallest things, when seen with love, can be part of something beautiful. Do you remember the scarecrows from childhood, tall, floppy guardians made of old shirts and straw hats, standing in the fields like gentle watchers of the harvest? They weren't scary, not really. They felt more like old friends, arms open wide, watching over all that grew. Today, we can bring that same spirit into a small patio garden, using nothing more than colorful plastic bottles and a touch of whimsy. To create your bottle scarecrow, start with a strong central support, perhaps a broomstick, an old garden stake, or even a sturdy tree branch. Then collect plastic bottles in a variety of sizes and colors. These will become the body. Stack them one by one from large to small, using glue or garden wire to secure them to the pole. The larger ones at the bottom make the legs, then smaller ones for the torso, arms, and finally, a rounded bottle or container for the head. Now for the fun decorating. Paint a smiling face on the head bottle. Add strips of fabric or raffia for hair. Perhaps a little scarf made from an old dish towel or a tiny hat you thrifted long ago. You can get creative with buttons, twine, and leftover ribbon. There's no right way to do it. Just let it reflect a little bit of you. Once assembled, gently place your scarecrow in a planter-raised bed or corner of the patio where it can keep watch. It doesn't need to be big, just tall enough to peek over your lettuce or herbs. The movement of the bottles in the wind, along with their colors, helps deter birds or curious critters from nibbling on your greens. But more than that, this little figure brings personality to your garden. It becomes a companion, a cheerful nod to the seasons, a reminder that even the smallest space deserves a little wonder. For older gardeners, this is a project full of joy, but light on labor. No digging, no lifting. Just hands moving with purpose, choosing colors, tying scarves, bringing a story to life one bottle at a time. It's a wonderful activity to do with a grandchild or even by yourself on a quiet afternoon. And perhaps like that old scarecrow from your memory, this one will stand for more than just protection. Maybe it'll represent care, creativity, and the quiet pride of making something lovely from what was once left behind. Like so much in life, it's not about what things are, but what they can become. Do you remember hanging up your children's or grandchildren's drawings on the fridge? Bright rainbows, flowers, little suns with smiling faces, all bursting with color and joy. They may have been made with simple crayons, but they lit up the whole room. That same kind of happiness can brighten your garden too with rainbow bottle wall planters. This idea is perfect for vertical spaces, a fence the side of a shed, or even an old pallet propped against a wall. Begin by collecting several plastic bottles, preferably of the same size and shape. Remove labels and clean them thoroughly. Then comes the part that brings out the inner child painting. Use outdoor-safe acrylics to paint each bottle in a bold, joyful color. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, the full rainbow. You can even blend soft pastels for a springtime palette, or go with deeper jewel tones for summer richness. Let them dry completely, and then cut an opening along one side of each bottle large enough to cradle a small plant. Once the bottles are ready, mount them horizontally onto your chosen surface. Screw them in gently through the back or use sturdy wire or zip ties to fasten them securely. Space them evenly or create a flowing pattern that mimics the arc of a rainbow across your wall. Now fill each one with potting mix and add plants that suit your climate and light. Trailing vines like sweet potato plant or creeping jenny work beautifully. So do herbs like thyme or oregano, or small flowers like pansies and petunias. The bottles catch the sun, reflect their painted colors, and add brightness even when flowers aren't yet in bloom. This project is especially helpful for seniors with limited mobility. There's no bending and the setup can be done seated at a table. Maintenance is light, just a little watering and occasional trimming. And visually, the reward is big. It's like turning your patio into a gallery of joy where every bottle is a frame, every flower a brush stroke. And more than that, it's a celebration. Of color, of second chances, of the beauty that comes when we choose to see not waste, but wonder. Because what's more hopeful than a rainbow? It promises light after the rain and reminds us that even scraps of plastic, when painted with love, can shine like a story waiting to be told. Have you ever tucked a quilt over a sleeping child, making sure every corner was just right? Not too tight, not too loose, just enough to keep them warm, protected, and at peace. That same tender instinct can be offered to your garden, especially in early spring or late fall, with a bottle dome greenhouse, a shelter stitched together from light color and care. To begin, you'll need quite a few plastic bottles, around 50 to 100, depending on the size of your dome. Choose bottles of the same shape and size, and focus on ones with smooth sides. Wash them thoroughly and trim off both the top and bottom ends, leaving you with clean open cylinders. Now for the pattern. Cut each bottle in half crosswise and then into petal-like sections. Think of them as the building blocks of your dome. Overlap the edges slightly and stitch or wire them together into pentagon and hexagon shapes, gradually forming a geodesic dome. This might sound fancy, but don't worry. There are plenty of simple guides online, and your version doesn't need to be perfect. Imperfect pieces can still make a perfect shelter. As you assemble your dome, you'll notice how the bottles catch the light. Some may still have a tint of green or blue, creating a lovely stained glass effect when the sun hits just right. Position your dome over a raised bed, a seedling tray, or a patch of herbs that need protection from cool winds or hungry critters. This greenhouse acts like a soft quilt, holding in warmth during the day and releasing it slowly at night. It's ideal for leafy greens, young sprouts, or even tender flowers not yet ready for the open air. And best of all, it's lightweight and portable. No heavy panels or tools required. You can move it around your garden with ease, adjusting as the seasons change or as the sun shifts. It's kind to your back and gentle on your budget. But the most beautiful part is what it represents. All those bottles once tossed aside now form a place of nurture, a cocoon for life, a dome of quiet resilience. Much like the shelter we offer to others throughout our lives, it's not made of perfection, but of pieces held together with patience and love. And under that dome, dear friend, something new will always be growing. Do you remember the joy of spotting a ladybug on your sleeve? Or watching a dragonfly hover over a summer pond? These tiny creatures, colorful, buzzing, unexpected, always brought a smile, a sense of wonder. With this next idea, we're inviting that playfulness into your patio garden through bottle bug sculptures, cheerful, oversized garden companions made entirely from recycled plastic. Start by gathering plastic bottles of various sizes and shapes. A small round bottle might become a ladybug's body. A long one, a dragonfly. A curved bottle could become the belly of a chunky caterpillar. You'll also need a few simple supplies, acrylic paint, garden wire, or pipe cleaner's glue, and a few caps or reflective pieces for eyes. Cut the bottles into segments or shapes depending on the insect you want to make. For a ladybug, paint a bottle red with black spots. Add eyes using bottle caps or googly eyes glued near the top, and use pipe cleaners or wire for antennae. Dragonflies look lovely with translucent wings cut from plastic packaging or even old milk jugs painted lightly with silver or gold. Once painted and dry, your bug sculpture is ready to take its place. Place them near planters, perch them atop a rock, or nestle them beside a flower bed. They don't need to be large or perfect. Their charm comes from their color and character. Each one becomes a tiny personality in your garden. What makes this idea especially lovely for seniors is how flexible and accessible it is. You can do everything seated at a table, indoors or out. It's a perfect rainy day craft or something to share with visiting grandchildren. Let them choose the colors glue on silly eyes or name each little bug. Beyond decoration, these sculptures also serve a subtle purpose. They can attract attention to areas of your garden that are often overlooked. And with their bright hues and shiny surfaces, they even help deter some birds or pests. But most of all, they bring delight. They whisper that gardens aren't only about straight rows and tidy blooms. They're also about joy, imagination, and a little bit of silliness. Because sometimes the best thing we can grow, especially as we get older, is laughter. And who says your garden can't smile back at you? Do you remember setting something up before bed? Maybe soaking beans for soup or laying out tomorrow's clothes so you could wake up knowing one small task was already taken care of. That feeling of gentle preparedness, of setting yourself up for ease. That's what this next idea offers: self-watering seedling bottles made from simple recycled plastic. It begins with a few clear plastic bottles. Water or soda bottles work best. Wash them thoroughly and remove the labels. Then, using a sharp blade or scissors, cut each bottle in half crosswise. You'll have a top part with a neck and a bottom that looks like a short cup. Turn the top half upside down and place it into the bottom half like a funnel resting in a bowl. Before you do, thread a strip of cotton fabric or a length of yarn through the bottle's neck. This will act as a wick, drawing water up from the base into the soil above. Now fill the top with potting mix, letting the fabric wick lie buried like a hidden helper. Add your seeds or seedlings, herbs, leafy greens, or any delicate starts you're nurturing. Then fill the bottom half with water. The wick will slowly draw moisture up into the soil as it's needed, keeping your young plants gently hydrated. What's beautiful about this system is that it asks so little of you. There's no daily watering, no worrying about forgetting. Just refill the base every few days or even once a week, depending on your plant's needs and the weather.
This project is perfect for those of us who garden from a chair or prefer to take things slow. Everything can be prepared on a table in the comfort of a shaded patio or kitchen counter. And because the bottles are clear, you can see exactly how much water remains, a gentle visual reminder that nothing needs to be rushed.
It's a small act of love toward your plants, your future self, and the earth. Using what others would throw away to create something nurturing and efficient. And in a way, it's symbolic of aging gracefully, of giving just enough steadily over time. No grand effort, just quiet, reliable care. Because when it comes to growing things, be it plants or peace, slow and steady wins every time. Have you ever watched lace curtains dancing in the wind, catching the sunlight just so? There's something peaceful and almost dreamlike in that motion. Not quite still, but not hurried either. With this next idea, we bring that feeling into your garden using nothing more than plastic bottles and your imagination. Let's make a hanging floral mobile that turns recycled pieces into floating garden art. Begin by collecting several plastic bottles. Clear ones work beautifully, especially if they catch the light. Cut the bottoms and bodies into petal shapes, leaf forms, or even abstract swirls. You can use scissors to round the edges or gently heat them with a hairdryer to make the plastic curl like flower petals. Don't worry about perfection. The more irregular, the more natural they look. Next, bring out your paints. Soft pastels, bold primaries, or even metallics. Choose a palette that speaks to the season or your mood. Paint each piece and let them dry completely. Then punch a small hole at the top of each and string them with fishing line, clear thread, or even natural jute twine. You'll want a base to hang them from, perhaps a sturdy branch, an embroidery hoop, or a repurposed wire hanger bent into a circle. Tie each strand at varying lengths so they flutter gently in the breeze. When hung from a pergola beam, porch ceiling, or tree limb, the entire piece moves like a garden breeze come to life. The beauty of this mobile lies in its motion. As the sunlight filters through the painted plastic, soft colors shimmer across your patio or balcony. The pieces sway and twist, casting little shadows, inviting you to sit, breathe, and watch for just a moment longer. This craft is especially wonderful for those who prefer light work. It requires no digging or bending, just cutting, painting, and assembling at a pace that feels good. And if you have visiting grandchildren, it becomes a lovely collaborative project, a memory built together one petal at a time. The mobile doesn't water your plants or feed the bees, but it nourishes something else, your spirit. It reminds you that art isn't confined to museums and that even trash can become poetry when given the chance. So let your garden have a wind song. Let it dance with light and color. Let it show the world that beauty like you only grows with time. Do you remember stacking blocks or nesting cups as a child? One on top of the other, building something tall with careful hands and wide-eyed wonder. That same delight, that sense of building beauty upward, can be brought into your garden with this next idea: glass bottle tower planters for trailing greenery. Start with clear glass bottles. Wine bottles, sparkling water, or soda bottles work well. Choose ones that feel sturdy and have a shape that pleases your eye. Wash them thoroughly and remove any labels. If you'd like to add some charm, decorate each bottle with small painted polka dots, soft pastel strokes, or even a wrap of twine near the neck. To begin building your tower, select a simple stand. It could be a tall plant holder, a narrow crate, or even a vertical rod fitted with circular bottle holders. Invert each bottle and arrange them in a tiered fashion. Depending on your stand, you may rest the bottles horizontally or stack them upright with openings exposed for planting. Now carefully fill each bottle with water and place a few trailing vine cuttings inside. Pothos ivy or wandering Jew thrive in water and look beautiful as they cascade down the structure. You'll be able to see the roots grow, which brings a quiet sort of fascination, like watching life take shape through glass. For those who prefer soil, cut the bottles and fill the lower halves with potting mix and small succulents. Secure them gently onto a vertical frame or mount them onto a pallet wall. Each bottle becomes a pocket of green, a small see-through planter that lifts your garden upward without taking up precious floor space. This is a perfect project for gardeners with limited movement or small patios. It requires little bending and minimal tools. The towers are modular and lightweight, easy to rearrange, water, and update with the seasons. And visually, the result is stunning. The glass catches light like sun on water, while the trailing greens soften the form, spilling gently downward like a living waterfall. But perhaps the most meaningful part is the transformation. Each bottle, once emptied and forgotten, becomes a vessel for life, a part of something elegant, useful, and ever-changing. Like us, these bottles have been through a journey, and yet here they are, still holding beauty, still standing tall, still giving. Do you remember the soft glow of fireflies in summer, little flickers of gold rising through the dusk like garden stars? That gentle light, that quiet magic can return to your porch or flower bed with this next idea. Lantern bottles fitted with solar tops, giving your garden a twinkle all its own. Begin with a few tall, clear plastic or glass bottles. Ones with smooth sides are best for a soft, even glow. Wash and dry them well and remove any labels or glue. If the bottles are too tall or you want a shorter lantern, carefully trim them with a glass cutter or plastic-safe blade. Now comes the transformation. Paint the outside with translucent glass. Paints a wash of amber, a swirl of blue, or a mix of soft purples and greens. You can also wrap the middle with lace-thin ribbon or pressed flowers between layers of decoupage glue for added charm. Once decorated, the real magic is added on top, a small solar light, the kind sold at garden stores or dollar shops. Most have a top piece that can be gently removed and fitted snugly into the bottle's mouth. If it doesn't fit perfectly, use a strip of foam or soft cork to hold it in place. During the day, the solar panels quietly charge in the sun. And then, as dusk settles, your lantern bottles begin to glow, a gentle, flickering light that feels like a whisper from the past. Place them along garden paths among your flower pots or on steps leading to your porch. You can cluster them in odd numbers, 3 here, 5 there, to create a storybook effect. No wires, no electricity. Just light where you need it, as soft as candlelight, but safe and sustainable. What's lovely about this idea is how it asks very little of you. There's no need for lifting wiring or even replacing batteries. Just set them out, let them sip the sun, and enjoy the reward come evening. And symbolically, it's a gentle reminder you don't have to burn bright to be seen. Sometimes a soft glow is enough to light the way, especially when it comes from something once thrown away. So let your garden shine, dear friend, not with spotlights or grandeur, but with quiet lanterns that remind you, even in your stillness, you are full of light. Do you remember those mornings when you'd sit with a warm drink, watching the birds gather fluttering wings, curious eyes, the little dance they do before settling down to eat? Birds bring life, movement, and song to a garden. And this next idea helps invite them in, all with a simple bottle turned into a bird buffet feeder. To begin, find a sturdy plastic bottle. A clear juice or soda bottle works perfectly. Rinse it thoroughly and remove the label so the birds and you can see inside. With a sharp craft knife or scissors, cut several evenly spaced holes about 2 to 3 inches from the base, just large enough for birds to access the seeds. Below each hole, insert a small wooden dowel twig or chopstick, threading it through both sides of the bottle. These will act as little perches. If you'd like, paint the bottle in soft, nature-inspired colors, sky blue, moss green, or a sunflower yellow, and let it dry fully before use. Fill the bottle with bird seed using a funnel or spoon. Then secure the cap and use wire string or twine to hang your feeder from a shepherd's hook, a tree branch, or even a railing. Make sure it's in a spot where birds feel safe, with some cover nearby and not too close to busy walkways. What makes this bird feeder so special isn't just that it's functional, though it is, but that it brings the garden to life in a way no decor piece can. You'll soon learn the habits of your local feathered friends. The early morning cardinals, the cheeky chickadees, or the fluttery finches will all come calling. You may even find that they begin to wait for you. And as they eat, you get to sit back and watch. No bending, no weeding, just a moment of presence. A reminder that you are still a part of nature's rhythm. For older hands, this is a lovely project that can be made entirely at a table with minimal effort and very little cost. It offers more than beauty, it offers company. A kind of silent companionship. Because sometimes what we need most is a reason to sit quietly, to listen, to feel part of something fluttering and alive. So hang your bottle, scatter a few seeds, and let the garden sing back to you. Do you remember making tiny worlds when you were younger? A shoebox turned into a dollhouse, a teacup garden with moss and pebbles, a whole story imagined in the corner of a yard. There's something magical about crafting miniature spaces, and with this final idea in our visit today, you can bring that wonder back with a fairy garden terrarium made from a simple, recycled bottle. Begin with a clear plastic bottle. A 2-liter soda bottle is ideal. Cut it cleanly around the middle or just above the base, creating a dome-shaped top and a shallow bowl. Smooth any rough edges with sandpaper or wrap the rim in soft twine or decorative washi tape for a finished touch. Fill the bottom with layers of small stones, a spoonful of activated charcoal if you have it, and a bit of potting soil. Then nestle in some moss, a tiny fern, or a small succulent plants that love the close, humid environment of a terrarium. Now comes the storytelling. Add a pebble path, a tiny bench made from twigs, a miniature gnome or fairy figurine. You can use a bottle cap as a bird bath or a thimble for a pot. Let your imagination run, or simply recreate a peaceful garden corner you love in miniature form. Once your tiny scene is complete, gently place the top half of the bottle back over it like a cloche. This will create a self-sustaining environment, capturing moisture and light, to keep the plant healthy with very little care. If it ever gets too misty, just lift the lid to let it breathe. Set your fairy bottle garden on a windowsill, a patio table, or even a plant shelf indoors. Wherever it sits, it brings a sense of quiet joy, a reminder that even the smallest spaces can hold magic. This project is especially soothing for older hands and hearts. It invites slow, thoughtful creation. There's no lifting, no bending, no schedule to keep. Just you, a little bottle, and a world of imagination. And isn't that what so much of gardening is in the end? Creating space for life, for memory, for story. Whether it's a wild patch in your backyard or a fairy world in a soda bottle, it's a reflection of care. Because we don't stop dreaming as we age. In fact, we get better at knowing what truly matters. And sometimes what matters is a tiny garden under glass that reminds you of the wonder still blooming in your heart. Do you remember leaving little notes for yourself? A shopping list on the fridge? A reminder by the kettle? Just small things to help make tomorrow easier. That's the spirit behind this next idea, turning bottles into self-watering globes for your potted plants, so they stay gently cared for even when your hands are resting. Start with a clean glass or plastic bottle, something with a narrow neck like a wine or olive oil bottle. If you'd like to decorate it, you can wrap it in jute paint a soft floral pattern or add a handwritten label with the plant's name and the date it was last watered. A personal touch turns a tool into something tender. Fill the bottle with fresh water, then place your thumb over the opening, turn it upside down, and press it gently into the soil of a potted plant. The soil will draw water as it needs, slowly emptying the bottle over several days. It's like your plant is sipping tea at its own pace, no rush, no stress. This is especially helpful for herbs or indoor plants, basil, rosemary, or lavender that enjoy consistent moisture. And for you, dear friend, it's one less chore to keep track of. No need to bend or lift a heavy watering can. Just check your bottles every few days, refill them at the sink, and return them like old friends to their cozy soil homes. For those with arthritis or low energy days, this simple system is a quiet blessing. It also brings peace of mind if you travel or rest more often. You know your plants are being gently nourished even when you're not nearby. And there's something quite poetic about it too. A once empty bottle, perhaps from a dinner shared or a celebration past, now serves again, giving life in a quiet, steady way. Still useful, still needed. Because that's what aging teaches us, how to give without fuss, how to offer care without needing applause. Like the bottle, you've held joy, memory, and purpose. And now, in this softer season, you still offer what's needed slowly, wisely, and with love. Let these little water globes be reminders you don't have to pour all at once to make a difference. Just offer enough, and life will bloom. Do you remember the excitement of something just beginning? A new recipe, a new habit, a new season. There's a tender kind of hope in those early moments, and that same feeling lives in this next idea, turning old bottles into gentle seed starter trays. To begin, gather a few plastic bottles, water bottles, juice containers, or even milk jugs will do. Rinse them well, then carefully cut them in half crosswise. The bottom half becomes your little planter. If you'd like, poke a few small holes in the base with a heated nail or needle, just enough to let extra water drain. Line them up on an old baking tray, windowsill planter, or even a thrifted casserole dish. This helps keep everything neat and catches any drips. Fill each bottle bottom with a bit of moist potting soil, not too much, just enough for baby roots to stretch their legs. Now for the joy drop in a few seeds. Lettuce, basil, zinnias, whatever you love. Press them gently into the soil with a fingertip, whispering hope as you do. Cover lightly with soil, mist them with water, and place your tray somewhere sunny. If you want to make it a little more magical, write the names of each plant on pieces of masking tape and stick them to the sides of the bottles. Or tie a soft ribbon around each one in different colors. This is your seed nursery, and like any nursery, it deserves a touch of tenderness. Within days or a week or two, you'll start to see green. Just little shoots at first, but enough to bring you back each morning checking for change. The simple wonder of watching life return from a dry speck of seed can soften even the hardest days. And for you, dear friend, this project is especially kind. It asks for no bending, no digging, just a table, some light, and your quiet attention. It's something you can do indoors with a cup of tea nearby and a little music playing. Seed starting with bottles is more than a money saver. It's a hope giver, a way to begin again slowly in small cups of earth. And isn't that what gardening and life is all about? Because even now you are still starting things, still growing, still planting small joys that will bloom in their own time. Have you ever paused to listen to the sound of the wind, not just its movement through the trees, but the song it makes when it touches something delicate? There's something meditative about that gentle music. And with this next idea, you can bring that sound into your own garden by turning old bottles into a soft, tinkling wind chime. Start with a few small glass bottles, perfume bottles, soda bottles, or even colored mini wine bottles are perfect. If you prefer plastic, you can still get that lovely fluttering sound like rain on a tent instead of a chime. The point isn't the volume, it's the feeling. Clean and dry your bottles, then decide how you'd like to cut them. For glass, use a bottle cutter and a bit of warm and cold water alternation to carefully create rings or smooth-edged tubes. For plastic, strong scissors or a heated knife will let you shape spirals, petal cuts, or even leaf-like streamers. Each piece becomes part of a gentle mobile. Use fishing line clear jewelry thread or thin jute to suspend the bottle pieces from a wooden branch, a coat hanger, or a wire wreath frame. Mix long and short strands so they catch the breeze at different times. If you have leftover beads, keys, shells, or metal washers, add them in between to create different tones. The layering of materials gives your chime a more natural, earthy sound like an orchestra of found objects. Hang your finished piece from a porch beam tree limb or shepherd's hook near your seating area. It doesn't need to be loud, just a subtle song that reminds you that time is passing and beauty is still being made moment by moment. This DIY doesn't ask much of you. Most of it can be done sitting down. You don't need strength, just patience. And like so many things in life now, it's more about rhythm than rush. What makes this wind chime truly special is that it gives voice to forgotten things. A bottle cap, a broken pendant, a shard of color, all become part of the melody. And maybe, dear friend, that's how we move through the seasons of life too. Collecting memories, reshaping fragments, and letting the wind time spirit love move through us, creating something softer than silence, but stronger than words. Let it hang, let it sing, let it soothe. Do you remember the feeling of being watched over, not in fear, but in comfort? Perhaps a grandparent standing in the doorway or a little trinket on the shelf that made you feel safe. That's the spirit behind this next project. Painted garden guardians made from recycled bottles, standing like gentle protectors among your flowers and greens. Begin by gathering tall plastic bottles, soda bottles, vinegar jugs, even large shampoo containers will do. Wash them well and let them dry completely. Then choose your favorite colors and begin painting. Start with a solid background, a soft sky blue, a gentle green, or even a creamy off-white. Once dry paint on the face, kind eyes, a crooked smile, maybe even rosy cheeks, or a twinkle in the eye. Don't worry about perfection. In fact, the more imperfect, the more lovable. Add details, a drawn-on mustache, eyeglasses with wire, a little patch of hair using yarn or dried grass. Some folks even glue on tiny buttons for noses or cut felt for hats. Wrap a scarf of old fabric around the neck or tie a napkin like a kerchief. Each one becomes its own character, wise, silly, mysterious, or nurturing. To make them stand, fill the bottom with a bit of gravel, sand, or even a few stones. Or hot glue them to wooden garden stakes so they can be placed upright among the vegetables, herbs, or along a path. Some people create a whole family, grandma guardian near the tomatoes, grandpa by the zucchini, a cheerful uncle near the compost. Children and neighbors who visit will smile. And you too may find yourself greeting them softly in the mornings as if they're old friends. Painting garden guardians is more than a craft. It's a ritual, a way to put presence and personality into the garden, a way to make the space feel lived in, cared for, watched over, even if no one is around. And for those of us who sometimes feel a little invisible as we grow older, it's a quiet joy to make something that stands proudly, brightly in full view. So go ahead, dear friend. Give your garden a few watchful companions shaped by your hands, full of your humor, touched by your story. Because even now you still guard beauty. You still bring warmth. And the garden knows it always knows when you're near. Do you remember that feeling of opening the back door and being greeted by the scent of fresh herbs, basil mint thyme, each one carrying a memory, a meal, a moment? This last idea brings that simple pleasure back to life. By turning old bottles into a vertical herb garden wall that saves space, money, and time. Start with a few plastic bottles. 2-liter soda bottles work beautifully. Rinse them thoroughly and remove any labels. With a craft knife or strong scissors, cut a large rectangular opening along the side of each bottle, leaving enough edge to hold soil. Poke a few small drainage holes in the bottom. Now prepare your wall. You can use a wooden pallet, a piece of lattice, or even a simple wire fence panel propped up against the side of your porch. Paint it soft white or sage green if you like something that feels fresh, clean, and inviting. Use zip ties wire or strong twine to attach the bottles horizontally to the frame, open side up. Stagger the rows like bricks so each plant has room to grow and spill gently over the edge. Leave space between bottles for light and air to pass through. Now fill them with potting mix and tuck in your herbs. Parsley, chives, cilantro, oregano, whatever you love to cook with or simply smell in passing. Don't forget to label them. You can use wooden popsicle sticks, wine corks, or even write directly on the bottles with paint pens. Place your herb wall where it will get a few hours of gentle sunlight each day against a garage wall, the back of your garden shed, or even your apartment balcony. Water carefully, watching how the bottles drain. And soon you'll have a fragrant living wall that offers both beauty and usefulness. This DIY is especially kind to those with small spaces or limited movement. There's no bending to the ground, no weeding a big bed. Just a few snips here, a handful of soil there. It's gardening at your own pace, upright, tidy, manageable. But more than that, it's deeply satisfying. These humble bottles once headed for the trash now cradle life. And you, dear friend, get to tend that life. To brush your fingers through mint before dinner. To pluck rosemary and remember old recipes. To be again the caretaker of something fresh and green. Because your hands still grow good things. And every bottle, every herb, every moment spent tending it all says the same quiet truth. There is still more to grow, still more to give, and still more beauty blooming from what others might discard. So here we are, dear friend, at the gentle end of today's visit. We've wandered through tiny terrariums and bottle birds, floating gardens, and glowing lanterns. We've taken what others might see as trash-clear plastic old glass leftover caps and strings, and together turned them into stories. Into beauty, into small but mighty acts of care. Isn't that the heart of gardening? Not just planting things, but transforming them. Not just decorating a space, but filling it with reminders of who you are and all that you've lived through. Every bottle, every wire, every coat of soft pastel paint was once forgotten, overlooked. But in your hands it found purpose again, and so have you. You see, aging isn't a fading away. It's a refining. A return to what matters. A deeper knowing that joy doesn't need to be expensive or perfect or new. It can live in a bottle, on a string, in a patch of moss, in the way sunlight passes through a garden mobile you crafted yourself. Your hands still know how to make beauty. Your heart still recognizes magic. Even if your steps are slower now, your imagination has never moved more freely. And just like these bottles, each one saved, clean, transformed, you too have gone through your seasons. Through wear and weather, through the years that shaped you, and here you are still blooming, still creating, still offering light. If even a single one of these ideas brought you a spark of joy, I hope you'll let it grow. Try just one, the simplest one. Let it lead to another. Let it surprise you. I'd love to know which idea touched your heart the most. Tell me in the comments, dear friend. Your words are always welcome here. And if you'd like more soft inspiration like this, do subscribe. There's always another gentle idea waiting just around the corner. Until then, may your garden and your spirit remain full of second chances, of sunlight and softness, of stories yet to be told. Until next time, happy gardening, dear friend.